idea of, you have people on both sides trying to downplay the other side, whether it's, people say you go to a HBCU, so it's easier, or, you going to a PWI, like, why you going there, like you not, when you have HBCUs built for your kind. So, I mean, it's just, that's a good question. And I feel like it's multiple answers to that. Um, and the answer can be touched on multiple bases, but as far as picking a side, like you say, I feel like it really shouldn't be no type of valid argument. Like I personally don't know why it's argued every year like that too. So
Let's okay, I think uh, Darian might be the only. If there's anybody else like from an HBCU in the chat who would like to say something, give us a different point of view, then feel free to jump in. Oh, hold on, Kyron has his hand
I had a
raised.
question. Oh, but I say I got a question for Kai, because I know for a fact that Kai attended Tech and Graham, and I just wanted to ask him, like, what's the difference, or what's the difference, and what's the experience you like? What did you experience, or was it a culture shock going from Tech to Graham?
So as y'all know, I attend both. So honestly, in my experience, my main school is Tech, of course, but being at Tech, I feel like subconsciously, it's not feel like subconsciously, it's like, it's not that you don't feel like you're smart enough to be there, but at the same time, it feels like I'm not supposed to be there. And so when I went to classes at Graham, I instantly felt like, oh yeah, like I want to pay attention. The teacher looked like me, the classmates looked like me. So it's like, oh, I'm in my environment. Like I feel like I belong here, you know? And then like all the questions and stuff, it'd be the same questions at Tech, but it's like, you don't feel like you know the answer at Tech because you're scared to get it wrong. But at Graham, I went over there, answering everything, because it's like, you feel more comfortable around people that look like you or then sound like you. Right now at Tech, I'm taking a class. I'm the only Black person in the class. So like it's like being adopted basically at the age of 17. It's not your people. So that's my little input on it. It's not necessarily a culture shock, but for me, it was a mental thing. Like I noticed mentally I was weaker at Tech because not that it was a superiority thing in my opinion, but it was like all eyes are watching you because you are the only one that's not them. But I go to Graham, it feel like I'm a part. Like I really can't explain it. You really honestly have to just go to both to really it's a feeling that you get. It's not really like something you can just sit out, talk about, and explain. It's a feeling that you get from attending a PWI and attending a HBCU. You have to actually do it to get that feeling feeling that you can't explain.
So would you say that the space is already there at Graham for you to be you, but here you kind of have to maneuver around different spaces, and then even then you might still can't just be yourself authentically.
Yeah, I guess you could say that.
Yeah. Let's see. I think that will kind of tie into. Oh, for everybody who missed it, because I did not go back and reiterate. So we're centering the conversation around 3 questions. One question is, why do we think that the disconnect is there? Why do we think there is such a disconnect? The second, which Kai was leading into, the different stereotypes, misconceptions, and experiences that we get going to our different campuses. Then, of course, the last question would be what next? Because with this talk, we will hope that the conversation does not just stay on Zoom. We will hope that we will take this out and, affect different change about it. And I think this is one reason why I'm happy that I joined UAAM, because this has been one of the things that I've been trying to get off the ground for a little minute. And in UAAM, you're taught that you have to promote the importance, you have to promote the awareness of HBCUs. And so you're kind of indoctrinated with that information that you feel like you need to go forth and kind of do something about. I went to Haynesville High School, Josh and I did. And when we would have our college days, which I know is the case around the country, in many cases, that you don't really even have HBCU representation there. That could be because the geographic location, maybe there's not an HBCU just in reasonable distance of that school, or for any vast number of reasons. But I think also there, you're kind of brought up at a young age to kind of put one over the other. And you don't just really realize it until you grow up and until you start thinking for yourself that, you know, a degree is a degree. And once we realize that, then we can put forth policies that are pushing for more funding for HBCUs, put forth policies to help different assets and facets of the HBCU experience, regardless of what university you go through. Because at the end of the day, if we're not going to show up for each other, then who do we expect to show up for us? So let's see, what stereotypes and misconceptions do we have because we attend the universities that we do attend?
The only stereotype, I don't really get any stereotypes about HBCUs. One that I do hear about when it comes to PWIs is the token Black kid stereotype. I don't know if everybody knows about the token, like that one Black kid that's just all around, the white people and stuff like that. That's the only one that I really hear about. I don't really hear about any other stereotypes.
And Donovan, if I may, I know I'm not, I guess, an official participant, but I'm glad that you invited me to participate. And so, as an alum of Grambling and currently attending George Washington University, which is a PWI, I'll say that both HBCUs and PWIs are capable of producing successful Black citizens, with positive contributions to society. And so I think where the discord comes is historically, Black people by law were not allowed to enroll in, the institutions that we call PWIs now. And of course, now that we have the ability to attend, like the young man just said, Derek just said, the token Black kid, it's okay. Now we have the accessibility to these schools, and many Black PWI attendees or HBCU students may view PWIs as intellectually inferior than the other. And on the flip side, some people view HBCUs as being, the party schools, the unprepared schools, the schools that have all the problems. And I know specifically when I was at Grambling, with tech being down the street, we did do a few service projects together, but throughout the year, a lot of the things that happened on our campus were blown up in the media, although they were happening in the same sense right down the street at tech, whether it was campus shootings or parties or whatever. And that's just the way that it was portrayed. But, Black students at both institutions face struggles, whether it's struggles with the institution or with finances or their matriculation, So I guess the discord is, I don't know. And I guess the question is, how do we change the narrative? How do we, and when I say we, how does Louisiana Tech and Grambling State University as sister institutions come together and, break the cycle, break the tradition, open up discussions like this with other students, whether Black or white, to just try to figure out what's going on. Now, my personal experience from Grambling and where I am now at GW, at Grambling, you know everybody, your professor knows you, they call you by name and all of that. At a PWI, in my opinion, I believe my professor knows my name because of the type of student I am. But if I wasn't the type of student that I was, I probably would just be known as a number. At an HBCU, you are set to a specific standard. You're noticed, and not saying that you're not noticed at a PWI, but it's a totally different experience. And it's just something about being around all of your people. But I did challenge myself after I graduated from Grambling to step out of the range of an HBCU and to experience a PWI. It's a good experience, not what I'm used to, but I'm learning, growing. And I'm speaking up a lot more because, there are not a lot of people like me, when I say like me, color-wise, that are at GW and are speaking up in class on, different topics and all of that. So, you don't have to prove yourself at an HBCU. Everybody there, understands, goes through something and all of that. But, you're constantly having to kind of prove your point or to fight for something or, all of that at a PWI. And it's just like, oh my gosh, I literally have to sit in this class again and argue back and forth with students who don't look like me about why HBCUs are significant, sorry for talking so long.
No, you're good. You're good. I don't even mind. This is why I look up to this man, because when this man talk, you gotta listen. But I mentioned that he had a culture shock between PWI and HBCU. So did you experience a similar culture shock?
Absolutely. I mean, not only from the population and all of that, like I said before, HBCUs, people look at as the party schools, as the schools who are underfunded, which we are underfunded, and, may not have as many opportunities, lack resources. Our buildings may not look better than other buildings. We don't have the alumni base where people are just donating millions and millions of dollars to support the student body, to support infrastructure on campus. And that's why we love it so much, because of all the struggles that we deal with as students. We have a seat at the table. When something happens on campus, if you don't like the food, if you want an event on campus, if you want a particular thing to happen, the administration is accessible, the people to talk to. And it's not you set an appointment, it's you go and walk in the office and, you have a seat at the table. And when I was student body president, I mean, we were at every single table. I don't care if they were talking about building a library, which is what they're building on campus now. We were responsible for the pool that they're building, the library, new computer labs and all that type of stuff. And, just speaking, if you aren't what people consider the elite at a PWI, do you really have the access of the people who are making the decisions? Do you actually have a seat at the table?
I know I can speak for tech. For a long time, there was no seat for us. Really wasn't even a table for us to sit at. We're just now making it to the point. We just got a new department, diversity of inclusion initiatives. We just got our new dean to that department, who was the director for Office of Multicultural Affairs. She's the first Black female dean. So we just got her. And with that, I have to say, that's one thing where I'm glad we have the president that we do have, because he's been so open and willing to help out and to make things shake. Skylar, I don't know if Skylar is in another Zoom or not, but Skylar Dean, I don't know if y'all see her. She is, for those of you who don't know, the one who organized the march that we had last, was it last summer?
Mhm.
And administration was so instrumental in letting her go ahead and do that, that sometimes here at Tech, all we need is the door to be cracked. And so that's exactly what she did. I forgot where I was going with that, but what's up, everybody? I just came in. So we're in our conversation now. We're centering it around why is there such a disconnect there between Black PWI students? What are the stereotype misconceptions and experiences that we have, and what should be done next after this? Jessica, are you there, Jessica? Let me see.
I'm here.
What's up, sis?
Hey, y'all.
Do you have, like, because we were trying to get and first of all, thank you for coming. What?
I'm sorry. I had dozed off for a second and I woke up. It was like 6 something. I said, hold on, wait.
Oh no, you good.
Zoom call.
You good. But what experience do you have at HBCUs, and why do you feel like the conversation needs to be had in regards to us coming more so together than just arguing about which one is I guess better for Black people?
I'm sorry. I'm finna get on the call. I'm finna take off my do-rag so I can. Okay, can you repeat yourself?
Yeah, what with you going to an HBCU, what do you think needs to be done in regards to us coming more so together than just being so far on separate ends of the spectrum, or at least thinking we are so far on separate ends of the spectrum to where we can't just get anywhere with the conversation?
Okay, you said what you think we need to do?
Yeah.
Okay, I personally feel as though the main thing we need to stop doing is really stop comparing it, because at the end of the day, I mean, we are Black people and we still in the world where we still having to pretty much fight to get to where we trying to go or what we trying to do. And it just seemed like, okay, people see that, Black students are going to, PWIs, and the first thing is that, oh, they switched up on us, they changed up on us, like they don't want to do this. And it took me, honestly, at first, like for the longest, well, I'm not gonna say for the longest, but for a while, like that's where my mindset was, because I always felt like, everybody should at least get the experience, at HBCU. But at the same time, like, I don't think us Black people who go to HBCUs, we still don't know that the Black ones who do go to PWIs, they really catching, forgive me, hell, because at the end of the day, like, they still, and I mean this in no harm, they are still reigning at the bottom of the totem pole, because it's already like it's so much against them, and then they gotta fight just to even feel half of what we already feeling at a HBCU. So I feel like one thing is stop comparing it, because at the end of the day, like, still come together. Like, we all have personal reasons why we chose the school that we chose the school. And at the end of the day, like, just protect one another and like still stand up for one another. And like at the end of the day, just like be there for one another, because we all Black. We still all struggling, trying to get to where we trying to go. And you still gonna have the white people that's gonna try to block us from it and everything. And we already got white people trying to block us from it. We don't need our own Black people trying to block us from it. So that's why I say one thing we need to do is really stop comparing it.
And she said what she said. And listen, I couldn't have said it better. So, what she said had something, it kind of relates to what Colin said, and to what Darian was saying, that when you're at an HBCU, the space is already there for you to grow. The space is already there for you to just flourish into, who you just want to become. But here at PWIs, we have to kind of make the space. And even in making the space up until recently, we had to make sure that our spaces weren't bumping into other spaces. I saw somebody unmute hold on. Colin had his hand raised.
All right, so when you said make the space is given, I honestly feel spaces are just being me, speaking on my experiences from both. I feel that spaces are given at both. Just at a PWI, you have to go get and use the space that you are given. And that's just my opinion. Y'all know me on Tech's campus. I try my best to use the space that's given to its full advantage, making connection with everybody, regardless of what they look like. So, I mean, I just don't see a difference. It's just going and getting the space and using the space the right way.
Okay.
And then I'll also add to what Kylan said, because, I definitely agree with what he said. But I think for PWIs, I think when Black students decide to attend, I think it's just a matter of underrepresentation. You're not the majority. So, you're continuing to do what you have to do. And maybe you're supposed to be that group of Black students to attend an HBCU and say, hey, there is not diversity here. There's not a table for Black students here. Let's make the table. Let's, and maybe you all are supposed to be able to do that. And, I agree with what Jessica said. Stop comparing the two, because they're totally different. And I think it's a matter of education as well on both sides, for the ones who decide to go to PWIs, become knowledgeable about the HBCU experience, so that when a discussion comes up at a PWI about HBCUs, you're able to speak up not only for yourself, but for your community. And then for those who attend HBCUs, learn what it's like to, attend an HBCU, or for Black students who attend, for Black students who attend PWIs, just in case the discussion comes up, you're able to say, okay, shout out to my brothers and sisters who are attending PWIs, we root for y'all and all of that, but it's just a lack of knowledge, because, PWIs, it's easy to view HBCUs by what a lot of people categorize them as, like I said, party school, and, don't have the funding, don't have the resources and all of that stuff. And like I said, as students, we had a seat at the table. PWIs, the funding is there and all of that, may lack representation of the Black community, but you won't be able to grow in representation unless Black people are actually there to flip the script. So I feel there's a purpose for Blacks, Black students at both. There's a purpose. And like I said at the beginning of the meeting, both HBCUs and PWIs are capable of producing successful Black people. I don't think one is necessarily academically strenuous or tough than the other. Your experience is what you make it. I want to ask this question, if you don't mind.
Hey.
For those who are at PWIs right now, mind you, I graduated from Grambling and I'm at GW now, which is a PWI in DC. So I'm kind of, in the middle of the discussion. So for those attending PWIs, do you feel that you are challenged more academically? Do you feel more intellectual attending a PWI than, versus your friends who went to an HBCU or,
Definitely.
I'd like to, can I speak on that real quick, Donnie?
Go ahead.
So I'd like to kind of respond to that with my own personal experience at PWI. For those that don't know me, LeVay Simpson. I go to Louisiana Tech, UAAM, but I am a biomedical engineering major, and engineering is already a field that is lacking representation of the Black community, let alone biomedical engineering. It's even a smaller space with smaller representation. So with that being said, I didn't get into any of my actual major specific classes until my senior year. First 2 years, I was grouped in with all of the other engineers. You know, we were all taking the same classes. Now, the first 2 years are really supposed to be your, I guess they're, you know, that's when the school really, the program really weeds out who really wants to be engineers or not. And I will say that I've always felt like as a Black man, I have always had, you know, a little bit more extra to prove. You know, I have taken multiple professors who, you know, they might give my my white classmate a little bit more leeway in certain situations, may offer them a little bit more assistance, you know, might be a little bit more understanding with certain situations that we go through, even things like bumping grades up and rounding grades and having bonus points, you know, little things like that. There's always been that clear difference. And I have always felt like, you know, it has been a challenge for me to actually excel at what I'm trying to do with my life in school, just based off of the fact that I am at a PWI. However, I was not really offered the alternative to attend the HBCU because from my knowledge, the only two HBCUs that foster biomedical engineering is only what FAMU and North Carolina A&T. I think those are the only two. And I'm from Texas. I wasn't about to, you know, go all the way out there just to pursue biomedical engineering. So that's kind of my experience with it. However, I have always had the mindset that it really didn't matter where I went to school as long as I got my education, because after I graduate from whichever school I go to, I'm always gonna have to prove myself anyway. There's gonna be some person who is not the same skin tone as me, who is going to essentially judge me. I'm gonna have to prove to them that I have the skill set, I have the ability to excel in whichever position that I get after school. So I know that Adrian, I know you were talking about how it's at a HBCU, you're a little bit more comfortable. You have a little bit more room to grow. And I do agree with my bro Kai. You know, I do think that PWIs also have that capacity to let their Black students grow. It's more of a, I think the conversation is more of a, like you said, like everybody's really been saying this whole meeting, it's something that really can't be compared, because even though you are a little bit more comfortable with who you're going to school with, you'll see a lot of people that look like you, have the same skin tone as you at the HBCU. I've always felt like you're still going to have to graduate and go to a space where you're going to work with somebody that does not look like you at the end of the day. So I do think that there really can't be a comparison there. All there can be is just support, you know, and just to realize that there's no difference between whether or not, you know, you're Black and you go to a PWI or you Black and you go to a HBCU. At the end of the day, we're all still Black. We're all still brothers and sisters here. You know, we're all trying to excel, go against the grain of whatever challenges our lives have faced, and we're just trying to make it. So to answer your, I don't know if I answer your question, but yes, that's from my experiences, that's how I feel about just attending the PWI.
I definitely agree with everything you said. Shout out to you.
All right, Scholar.
Okay, sorry, I had to go in my room. Kaylin's in the meeting too. Okay, but what I was gonna say that I feel like it depends on the PWI and the HBCU you're talking about, because I mean, I know a lot of people think just because it's a PWI, oh yeah, that means education is going to be way better. That means it's going to be way more rigor. But that's not necessarily true, because there are a lot of prestigious HBCUs that were actually here before those PWIs. So I feel like you have to take into account the specific schools that you're talking about. I feel like maybe where it gets a little murky in that conversation is like a lot of people are saying, when you go to a HBCU, it's a different atmosphere. Like you're around people that, like, I mean, there might be different issues there as well. I'm not sure because I go to tech, but it's not the same as it would be at a PWI. Like at a PWI, not only are we trying to focus on schoolwork, but we're trying to focus on, okay, while I'm in class, these white people are being really racist towards me, but I can't really say that it's being racist because I can't really prove it, but I know. So I got to deal with these feelings. I got to go to school, but then I'm also the only Black girl in this class. So because I'm the only Black girl, I got to represent for all the other Black people. And it's like, it's hard because the other Black people don't always see what you're doing. They're like, okay, why are you going to a PWI? Like, oh, so you want to be white now? But it's like, somebody has to go to the PWI for things to change. Like, we need room for change. So if all of us just go to HBCUs, we're just going to continue to let the PWIs be how they are. I mean, some people are okay with that, but me personally, I don't think so. I feel like there is room in the world for all Black people to be in. And I feel like the more we start to break those barriers, the better it will be. I would just like to see more like HBCUs and PWIs coming together, not even like the institution themselves, but the Black people at those institutions, because PWIs have Black clubs and all those things too. We can connect outside just like we're doing today. Like, I feel like more of that should happen. That'll help bridge the gap.
Definitely. I certainly agree with that. And, like you just said, I definitely agree that, you are where you're supposed to be, whether you're a Black student at a HBCU or a Black student at a PWI, two totally different experiences. And both students on both spectrums are fighting the good fight to basically graduate and go out into the world and do what they're purposed to do. So yeah, I definitely agree with that. And, coming together more, because like you said, if there aren't Black people at PWIs to break the systems, because we're in a movement now, breaking old habits, breaking old systems, and tearing down the walls of racism and all of that. So we have to be in those spaces, because if not, if you think about it, if all Black people just went to HBCUs and all white people went to PWIs, that's reverting back to segregation, if you will. So, I agree with what you said, Skylar.
All right, let me speak my piece real quick. My name is Joshua Evans. I attended the PWI. I just graduated March 6th, communication major, also a member of UAM. Y'all can hear me?
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. So I agree with what Kai said earlier, like your opportunity is what you make out of it. I think it's a negative stigma around going to HBCUs at times, and that's where the conflict comes in. So to answer your question, why is there a disconnect there? I think funding going into HBCUs and PWIs are totally different. Perception is everything. When you go down to look from sports, the viewership that they get on TV, the funds that are backtracked into their facilities, it looks different. So that's why we argue about each other about it, because of the difference. Even though the quality of education might not be different, the quality of athletes coming out of each program might not be so much different. But going up and looking at the numbers, statistically speaking, that's where we start to draw those lines. That's all I got to say for right now.
Yeah, it's the facts. I mean, and it's true facts. The resources are totally different than those at PWIs. The funding, like the entire spectrum, is totally different. But you can tell at some HBCUs, I can only speak for Grambling, that Grambling is continuing to thrive and to get to a point to where a school like Tech is in regards to the infrastructure, the funding, and all of that. So it's definitely going to take a long time to get to that point, but
like I can see where the frustration come from like, being an HBCU student and seeing Black students going to PWIs. Like, okay, y'all going to this school, y'all scholarship, y'all funding is going towards this school instead of HBCU. So more people went to HBCUs will have the same funding and the same opportunity that y'all have. But in the same breath, our ancestors fought for us to have the same quality education as the next man. So, I mean, I go back and forth with the topic because I try to see both sides. I can't never get to a clear solution, except for to have everybody acknowledge most of the problems and be more aware of the situations. Then not only that, globally, like I bring it up to sports a lot because sports does kind of fund most schools, especially schools like Tech. As far as representation online, on TV, that's what we see. So I think that attributes to the mindset that we have when we separate the two topics of HBCUs and PWIs.
So you would say more so like the quality of exposure, maybe?
Definitely the quality of exposure. Like you said earlier, we ain't go to no HBCU on our college career day. Grambling before Tech. We coming from Haynesville. We get to Grambling before we go to Tech. Why the hell we just stopping at Tech and nowhere else? Excuse my French, I'm sorry.
Oh no, you good, you good. Jessica, and then we'll do Jason. I think Skylar had her hand raised.
I just wanted to say, and because everything that everybody said, it made you look like it in a different perspective, like, you know, that's why. And then because when Skylar had said about I can't remember exactly what it was, but she said, but it was something that I had agreed on. And I've seen it before, but I just want to make the statement that just because you attend a PWI, I think some people get the mindset that, oh, because they attend the PWI, they think they better, or because I attend this PWI, I think I'm better because I'm getting better education or something like that. And I don't feel like that's the thing, because honestly, I've had white teachers to give me grades, and I've had Black teachers who made me struggle to get the grade and actually work for my grade. And I feel like that does play a major part too in, like, you know, the disconnect from PWI Black students and HBCU students, because it's always that, I'm not gonna say always, but most of the time it does. Well, sometimes it does lead to the, oh, well, we getting a better education because we at this PWI, because, you know, oh, we getting funded more or something like that. And that's not the case. Like I said, I've had white teachers to just give me grades, and I've also had Black teachers that literally told me to my face, oh no, you're gonna work for this grade. It's and that's why I think, you know, another part of the disconnect comes from, because at the end of the day, like, even I think it was Joshua, he said that you know, back during the time, that's where they fought for us to have equal rights and equal education and stuff like that. So okay, yeah, I can agree with what how y'all were saying, that being at a PWI, somebody has to go there. And like I said, everybody has their personal reasons on why they chose the school that they wanted to go to. Like one guy said he chose it because it was the closest, and he was not gonna, you know, travel all those miles to, you know, get the degree. At the end of the day, he's getting his education. And that's just what I feel. Don't get me wrong. I've seen Grambling come, I mean, I've seen Tech come together to help Grambling with quite a few things, especially with the Retool Your School last year. Like, they were one of the first ones to be like, let's help out our neighbor school. And so I was grateful for that, because it just showed a change. And then, like I said, at the end of the day, we not in their shoes, the Black students at PWIs, to know what it is to sit in that classroom, to experience racism head on, possibly even every day. We at this HBCU where it's like, oh, we can be equal with one another and stuff like that. And yes, it is Black teachers that can be, y'all know what I mean, but it is some Black teachers like that. So, you know, sometimes we may experience that in the classroom, but whereas we may come together and talk about it, the Black students at PWI is just kind of like Skylar said, it's just kind of like, it's a mix of emotions that you got to deal with on the daily. So that's something like that we don't see, and that we can't, you know, quite put ourselves in their shoes because we're not there. But yeah, like I was saying, like, I don't think that's an issue. Well, I think that is an issue by, like, when people go to PWIs, some people automatically think that, oh, they getting a better education than me, or even people who go to PWIs, we getting a better education because, you know, we go here rather than a HBCU. And like I said, I just don't think that's the case.
This
We all
is
trying
ignorance.
to fight for this grade.
Yeah.
Nah, for real.
Then let's go Jason, and then we're gonna do Jada, and then we're gonna come back to Josh.
All right, so I just wanted to piggyback off of what Skylar was saying when sitting in class and having that racial pressure from other white students. I feel like the young Black college students have to put on like more of a formal perspective when at a PWI versus a HBCU, because you're around people that look like you, and you know, y'all are all similar. The education opportunities, they're both the same. I feel like that depends on the person and what their priorities are. The only thing I would say is that at a HBCU, there's more distractions that attract the Black students, because HBCUs, they throw, you know, a bunch of parties and things like that. But at a PWI, they're attracting more of the white students. So I mean, Black students are more focused to just stay in anyway and do the work and things like that.
All right, Jada.
Hi, this is Jay talking. I go to Graham, and okay, for me, I'm piggybacking off of what Jessica was saying. So I'm not from the South, and I decided to come over 1,000 miles to choose a HBCU, and I am a Gremlin legacy. I have a lot of family that came through Graham, and one thing that I wanted to like kind of point out and kind of shed light on from my experience was my best friend goes to Eastern Michigan University. That's PWI. Of course, I go to Graham. At that time, she was a CIS major like myself. We were taking the exact same class. Curriculum was the same. We actually compared it. Oddly enough, she had a Black teacher at her PWI. I had a white teacher at my HBCU. When we compared our actual work, my HBCU dove way deeper into database analytics and coding and everything versus what she was going through. And it was eye-opening for her because there was a lot of slack that we both went through, because originally we both wanted to come to HBCUs, and the stereotypes put on HBCUs ultimately affected her choice in school, but it was something that she overlooked a lot until we ended up taking the same class. And that also speaks to the region and just how personal choices and what's going on in one person's life will affect their school choice at the end of the day. And also there was a big difference in how our teachers handled things. My teacher was way more lax and he was understanding of different situations versus her teacher. I hate to put it like this, but their class was pretty much easy A. Like you could do a PowerPoint, as long as you can maneuver basically around a computer, they were passing people through because they had a higher class volume versus my HBCU. And that opened her eyes to a certain extent. So I feel like people not having open conversations like this in the first place, it feeds onto the stereotypes on top of, I would say, you know how people say, if it's not in your house, you won't really acknowledge it. Or like, if it's not hitting close to home, it's out of sight, out of mind. So I think that's something that a lot of people overlook as well, because each institution, regardless, is still gonna have their own curriculum. Every teacher is gonna have their own way to give it out. And regardless of skin color, each professor in that syllabus is gonna be different.
All right, thank you so much. Who was next? I forgot. Was it Josh? Is Josh? First of all, let me apologize. Not really sure who that was, but we kicked him out. Of course, it's some of the things that we have to deal with here, but that's okay. That is all right. I guess Josh maybe.
Oh, all right. I'm just gonna say that my education wasn't too different. I'll never say that my education was better than somebody else. Like the main goal, like everybody been saying throughout this chat, is to get educated. So with that being said, I do know that Tech was on the quarter system. It felt rushed, felt less tailored to me as opposed to going to a HBCU. I ain't never been to a HBCU, but I know in my classroom setting, some of the teachers were understanding, but I never had that Miss Bean in the classroom that was going to push me. And I know that's personal. That's a personal flaw because you got to want to push yourself to get to the next level. And I don't know if HBCUs like that, like those more personal conversations, those more checking on you when you ain't making it to class or holding you more accountable. But then again, at the end of the day, it's you holding yourself accountable.
Okay. All right, so I don't want to hold you long, but as long as the spirit allows to. So we're gonna move to the last piece because I know y'all got places to be and people to see. So what's next after what's next after this conversation? How do we use this conversation and the experiences that we've told each other and the understanding that we got from it to kind of move the envelope forward in the grander scale of Black PWI and HBCU student relationships?
I personally feel like this has opened up my mind a lot because I'm not even gonna lie. Before the conversation, I was like, I feel like everybody should at least get the experience to HBCU, and I was like, hey, maybe they attended, the PWI for their own personal reasons, like I said. But it was one thing like Skylar that stuck out that Skylar said that stuck out to me was when she was like, somebody has to do it. And even when Josh said, I think he was one that said it, that said how back then this is what they fought for. And so now it has me looking at them like I knew that they was, going through it, but at the same time, I didn't know it was it would have such a mental hold on them because even last year at the March, my mother went out there and she was just telling me about it. She left me, by the way, but I was supposed to be out there. But she was just telling me how one of the students was like, when she was speaking, she was just basically saying like, that's what she was taught. And she didn't know that it had such an effect on y'all until she actually got out there and was marching with y'all. And so, like I said, that even opened up my eyes too. But like after this conversation, I feel like it's going to start within. We have to see it for ourselves, like within, like, dang, they talked about this is what they going through, but they really going through this. And it just, I guess, like I said, I guess it starts from within more than anything.
Go ahead, Adiri.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Jessica. And, I think we can all just agree that what we lack was this conversation in general. So I feel like more conversations like this, whether it's amongst Grambling and Tech or, just other schools, in the state, having these discussions and kind of learning from both spectrums what us as Black people are going through at both institutions and being empathetic to the experiences and accepting the fact that they're both different and people have a right to preference. If I want to go to an HBCU, I'm going to go to an HBCU. If I want to go to a PWI, I'm going to go to a PWI. At the end of the day, I'm getting my education. I'm getting it differently than somebody else, but this is my journey. This is my path. And this is the journey that I'm meant to be on. So more conversations like this, being more understanding, and also individually going through and trying to learn more about the experiences at each. As an HBCU student, if you've never been to a PWI, kind of get the knowledge behind what it's like to be a Black student at a PWI, and vice versa. PWI students kind of get the feel of what it's like to attend an HBCU, whether you go physically or you're doing the research or you're looking at some blogs or, social media, it's so many people out there that's speaking out on these certain issues as well. And I'm not at Grambling right now, but I know that both schools are on both campuses all throughout the year, there's tech students on Gramblin's campus all the time. It may be for different reasons. However, we never just kind of split and say, oh, y'all stay over there or y'all stay over here. We always make that, make our way to the other side of the street. And most of the time it's in service, whether it's with other organizations or whatever. But yeah, so we definitely appreciate you guys for putting this together, and hopefully it's more conversations like this that will come in the future.
Colin, did you want to say something? I saw you put your hand down, or were you good? All right. So yeah, the conversation, we've been trying to do this for a minute. This is actually supposed to be more of an in-person thing. I was in talks with Jay Red from Grambling and also Tia from Grambling, and we were gonna try to plan this whole thing, but of course COVID happened. So we're here. But I want to definitely thank you all for coming out. Y'all are amazing. So if y'all have like any announcements going on, I'll give space for that as well. But for everyone else in this Zoom chat, UAAM still does. We do have our just lost my brain. We have our joint Boys and Girls Club drive with Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. That's still going on. That'll be over on April 9th. That's gonna count as our service event for our U week this week. And also just stay on the Instagram, the Twitter, just to caught up as to what's going on each particular day. And does any other organizations have announcements that maybe y'all wanted to let the people know? We're going once. All right, Darren.
So this is not an announcement, but I just want to know how all of us on this call can get connected with one another, whether it's through Instagram, Facebook, or whatever.
I'm gonna go first. Follow me on Instagram, J24Evans, Snapchat, J24Evans, Facebook, Joshua Evans, everything J24Evans.
Okay.
I'm gonna probably have to put mine in the chat, but I think everybody follow me because I'm built like this.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm gonna type it in the chat.
But yeah, my Instagram is Jessica_Janice, JOHNICEE. And my Twitter, yeah, y'all can find my Twitter. My Twitter is _the_only_Jess_, and the O and J in Jess and only is capitalized. So yeah. And my Snapchat, yes, Jessica Janice too. So yeah. Was I on mute?
You good? No. Yeah, you good.
Sorry.
Hey Donnie.
Uh-huh.
When the next time we're gonna have a conversation like this?
Oh yeah.
Well, I guess that's why we're all, dropping social media information. We could probably work that out. We could either have this as another U event, or we could have this something independent of UAAM. But I don't see why we wouldn't be able to work that out and do this again, or maybe even turn it into something bigger eventually. But yeah, I'm down with it.
Hey, Donnie. This might be a little off topic, but why did Keenan put MySpace?
Because he about to get kicked out. That's why. He about to get removed. And he about to get blocked. He about to get blocked from everything. And then you can also follow UAAM on Instagram at LaTeX UAAM. You can follow us on Twitter at UAAM Exodus, and you can also follow us on Facebook at Louisiana Tech UAAM. Yeah. How did y'all get here? I know Jessica and Adarian were invited, but how did everyone else get here that was not a part of UAAM? I would just like to know.
Skylar told me to join.
Oh, thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. And I think, wait, you might be the only other person?
It's Jay. I didn't have my camera off this whole time.
Okay, thank you for coming, Jay. I definitely appreciate you and your input. I appreciate all of y'all for coming and everyone else's input. If anyone else has anything else to say, y'all can say it now, or else we about to get out this thing.
Have a fun Taco Tuesday.
Shout out to all Black people, whether you're at an HBCU
my mic's still
or
on.
PWI. We love each other. We support each other. And we got work to do.
Everybody keep working hard. Just keep working.
I thought I blocked him from saying anything. My bad. I just put you on mute. But
Oh, man,
yeah,
that's crazy.
great words to go out on. So everyone, thank you again for coming. We're gonna have this on our Instagram TV, our IGTV, if that's okay with y'all. Okay, so because we've been recording it this whole time, so hopefully my computer have enough room to actually have the video so that we can post. So yeah, thank y'all for coming, and we are out.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
It was nice meeting and talking to all of y'all.
Y'all
All right, y'all.
be safe.
All right, Donnie.
All right.
Adios. Adios, amigo.
Adios.